So that is our festival. And winter time, after a good snowfall, that doesn't happen often, but when it snows, I loved making snow bunnies. And I will stay outside for an hour or more while my sister and cousins go back in after a couple of minutes to stay warm. But I never felt lonely in the nature. I rather felt lonely staying at home, the safety of my home, but that was more lonely to me, and waiting for my mom to come home because she worked. And so I prefer to stay after school, helping my teachers and doing little chores and helping with preparation for the events. So words like these proverbs have had a profound impact on me ever since I was a little girl. Those short phrases that stood the test of time and were carried on as wisdom from ancient times were like puzzles in my mind to figure out the way to interpret and apply it to my current situation. One of them I liked as a little girl is this one. 井の中の蛙、大海を知らず、されど空の高さ、地の深さを知る。It means a frog in the well knows not the sea, but be that as it may, he knows the height of the sky and the depth of the earth. So the first time I heard this was maybe around 5 years old, and I did not hear the whole thing. I heard only the first part. The frog does not know the sea. A frog in the well does not know the sea. I always known frogs in a rice field. So it was a drastic change of perspective for me to imagine a frog in a well. And I imagined himself in the well alone, trapped in this deep hole. And I was sad for him. And I asked what it meant to my mom. And she explained it to me. And after hearing the explanation, I said, I don't want to be that frog. I don't want to stay in my small world and see a sky with a tiny hole and see that as my world. I wasn't sure the frog could even grasp the real height of the sky. And then I decided that I will work hard and get out of my small world from my well. And after years, maybe around I was 17 or 18, trying to get into college, I heard the rest of the proverbs. Some people were trying to rationalize it's okay to stay in the well. You can still see the height of the sky and the depth of the earth. But I said, no, that's not how I see it. When you are far from a door and you try to see behind the peak hole, you don't see much. So you need to get close to the hole. And I wanted to get out of this hole, the well, in the same way. And I still choose to come out of the well and see the open sky. And after experiencing the labor of truly understanding the depth of the hole I was in, it takes some effort, but I choose to take that effort so that I can see the sky. And my mom, was nothing short of challenges for my sister and I growing up. My parents, both of them, did not go to college. And for that, they worked really hard to give us the best possible opportunities within their reach. My mom believed that building a strong foundation is essential in whatever you do. So she provided for us the opportunities to build those foundations in each area she identified as critical. Piano for the foundation of music, ballet for the foundation of dance, calligraphy and family drawing time for the foundation of art. And she had the constant supply of workbooks for us to do for the academic foundation. Especially for piano, she made a rule that we have to practice each song 10 times every day. And usually we have 4 or 5 songs. So we are praying for a long time every single day. And I tried to cheat, but she knew when I cheat. And I would cry, but she did not budge. So I had to do it anyways. I think that's because she was a gymnast. She did gymnastics in middle school and high school. And her coach told her that when you miss a practice one day, it takes 3 days to recover. So she had to do it every single day, and that was what she believed in. And that value was instilled in us. So this is the word she said she likes, and that I think that is true. 塵も積もれば山となる. Many a little makes a miracle. Yeah, every day, hard work, even a little effort makes a lot of difference at the end. We still use this in our family as well. My boys both play soccer, and they don't just go training. They also train at home with my husband, and my daughter goes to ballet class and come back. She still trains at home, and the result shows in their achievement. And my parents took us, the daughters, to summer camp every summer, family camping trip. It was usually in the region of Japan Alps, where we can all enjoy deep mountains and forests. And my dad is a fishing person. He likes to fish trout. So we fish trout and cook for dinner and enjoy family time. We did not need to play piano. That was a plus too. This family time was something I really look forward to, and I was confident that I will get it when we make it to summer every year. My parents did not have a lot, but they made sure that they provided the authentic quality in whatever they gave us as opportunity. One time I remember my birthday, my parents took me to a French restaurant or French bistro. I've never been to any restaurant except noodle shop or a family restaurant. But we came here, and my mom ordered for us a duck confit. I did not know duck can look fancy like this. We always had ducks in hot pot. And I was fascinated with the taste, the soft meat and the crisp skin, those things. It was a complete rather shock to me, and that encouraged me to dig into recipe books and learn about different ways of cooking things in different culture. They also took us to a Broadway show in Osaka downtown and full ballet production by ballet company or symphony orchestra concerts. Some concert, to be honest, was boring, but I can tell now that those experiences cultivated my eyes and ears. So my parents instilled in us this value, quality over quantity. And I use it in our family still. So my dad modeled for us a lifestyle of continuous learning and growing with optimism. He was very optimistic. His parents moved from Kyushu, the south of Japan, southmost part of Japanese mainland. When he was 3, they moved to Osaka, and the community back then was pretty much xenophobic, and they treated his family differently. But his family stayed together as a close-knit family and worked really hard to build up their tailoring business. My maiden name is Fukushima. It means Fortune Island. But I don't really relate to this name. I don't know why, really, but maybe their family business, Taylor Fukushima, was always spelled in katakana. Katakana does not have a meaningful letter. It's just a syllabic expression of words, Japanese word. And katakana is also used to write out foreign words. So I think somehow I was accepting that I am not fully belonging to this name. So my dad often swam in the shore nearby school and fished and collected shells for dinner when he was young. And he also helped his parents and 2 young sisters. But in middle school, he started playing soccer and he ran tracks in high school, and he made it to national track meet in his senior year. And after graduation, he went into training of tailor. And then after the training, he joined his dad and my grandpa in their tailoring business. This suit I'm wearing today is made by my dad. We went to Joanne to buy this fabric, and then he sewed by hand. So I have him right here. And where am I? Yeah, so he was working as a tailor with his family for a while. But when I was in first grade, he quit the tailoring job. It's not that because he didn't like it. He loved what he did, but he saw the limit to how much he can grow in his family business. So he started out as a jewelry clerk. And then after a couple of years, he tried getting into men's clothing because he knew a lot about men's clothing. So he interviewed for this position in a Japanese designer's store. And this designer is a designer for Japanese emperor family as well. He was the first to be hired without college degree by Mr. Ashida. And later on, he heard that he liked Mr. Ashida liked his character that he saw in the interview, and the fact that he went to the national meet in track. But he also reminded him that the resume he wrote, his handwriting was terrible. But he was one of a kind wherever he went. So he was working in Ashida. His salary increased, but after a couple of years, some people conspired against him and he had to quit the job. He was unemployed for a year, but he never looked below where he was. So after a year, he got a job at a Hugo Boss. That's a German company. He had an opportunity to go to Germany with this company and enjoyed his job. But the same kind of thing happened, and then he had to switch the job. But every time he went a little up a notch, leveled up. And by the time he retired, he was the shop manager of Brioni. So he taught me this lesson, ame futte ji katamaru, meaning rain settles the soil, or adversity strengthens the foundation. Oops. Yeah. So my high school days in Japan, to go to high school, you need to take an entrance exam, including public schools. And one school district has several high schools, and each schools were ranked based on students' academic ability. So which school you went to represented the academic ability of you and the student body as a whole. And each school had the uniform. So much societal pressure, and that was a lot of pressure in Japan. But I also had a great time. I was in a swim team, and we did summer camp and training together. And these friends from the swim team are the friends I still keep contact with. During this high school year and the gap year, I spent a lot of time with my grandma. It was after the onset of my eating disorder, and I needed a safe place. My grandma showered me with unconditional love and accepted me as who I am. I would bike 25 minutes after school to her house and spend time with her, do some homework, and bike maybe 45, 50 minutes home. But that time with her was very important to me, and I can say that saved me. One time my grandma and grandpa took me to their hometown in Kyushu, where my dad was born. Kyushu is the south side of Japan. And seeing where they grew up, my grandparents grew up and my dad was born, I felt at home, even though I had never been there before. Shortly after, she became ill and passed right before my entrance exam. I did my best for her and passed the exam. Okay. So to start the new chapter in my life as a college student, I moved to Yokohama. It's a neighboring historic port city to Tokyo. It was a much bigger city compared to Kishiwada, and it has so much international influence because it was one of the ports that was opened after the lockdown for 200 years. So I studied architectural design in Yokohama National University, And I made many friends from different parts of Japan and also with exchange students. And even though we were all from different places, it was fascinating to me that we shared very similar interests and passion. And it was okay to be nerdy and talk about things in depth. That wasn't the case up to middle school for sure. And I think that's the beauty of higher learning. Iron sharpens iron. I also enjoyed traveling overseas as much as I could. In my sophomore year, I took a trip to my dream destination, Europe. I had this adoration for Europe because I liked European antique. And I did not know anything about European antique, but I just collected things of particular style of European antique. And I thought, oh, I know so much about Europe. But when I went to Europe, I realized that that was not true. I walked among the olive trees and sunflower fields, and I walked back streets and saw people doing their laundry and tending their garden. I sat in an old church in a small town, alone, nothing but the history, and just imagining the local people there were doing the same thing I'm doing centuries ago. So what I remember from this trip is that it's not the glamorous styles and designs that I thought I would see and learn. What I remember more is that people's life I got to witness, and I saw many differences, but I also appreciated the commonality as a human. In my junior year, there was this opportunity to enter a contest to get a free ticket to World Cup '98 in France. I jumped at it because I wanted to travel. I wrote an essay. I think, I don't remember exactly, but the title or the goal of that essay is about your dream and what you want to achieve after graduating from college. It was offered by one of the venture company in Osaka. I entered my essay, I got in, and I flew to France with, I think about 400 other students. They chartered the airplane and took us there, toured us around France, watched 2 World Cup games, and came back. And spending time with these people, the college students that wrote the same kind of essay, gave me the opportunity to connect with people who are very, had very high motivation. And we were also from really different background. This girl I became really close with, Kazu, she was from Sacred Heart University. It's a women's university, private women's university in Tokyo. And I learned so much from her. She was really different from the friends I had in Yokohama National University in engineering. She had this makeup bag she carried along, and we were moving in the bus. So we had a lot of time chatting and connecting while riding the bus. And she would spend time treating her skin to look perfect before getting to the next destination. And I learned a lot of tricks from her. So this is the word that comes to my mind when I think of my college years. Rui wa tomo yobu. Birds of a feather flock together. I would like to show a little bit of my graduation design in architectural design school. The title of this design piece is actually Tanka. It's a Japanese poem from ancient years, and it means as though taking an old yarn and respin it to make a new fabric. I wish I could respin the good from the past and revive it in the present. So when I went into architectural design study, one of the first design project was about finding the landscape of my soul, or genhuke. It meant digging deep in my memory to find what landscape and space hold the most significance to who I am now. From that project, I continued reflecting on my various experiences and my feelings, my values. So after 4 years, I wanted to design a space where old and new interact, where people of different backgrounds interact. And this is a little picture of my model in the drawing. And in my master's thesis, I did a study on the design of architectural spaces that provides iyashi. Iyashi means healing or soothing. I wanted to know if there's any formula to design a space or architectural space that promote mental healing. What I did was that I chose 16 cafes around Tokyo and Yokohama where people go to unwind. And I also chose 11 Japanese traditional inns, or ryokan, that were known for their thoughtful designs that promoted unwinding and relaxing. And I categorized design elements that I identified as sources for its healing effect and analyzed each space about these elements. This is one of the worksheets. So at the end of my first year in master's program, I met Placidus and we became good friends. He helped me with interview prep and I helped him with translating part of his thesis and bookbinding arrangement. He decided to go to the US or come to the US for postdoctoral fellowship, and I got a job in Tokyo. So upon graduation, I started working in Tokyo as a project manager assistant in a Japanese sector of a global company, Pharmaceutical Group. I assisted overseeing a few projects in Japan. The one on the right is Tokyo Nihonbashi Ichome project. The one on the left is Osaka Stock Exchange. And the one in the middle is in Shanghai. We did not do this project at the Japan office, but we went to this site and also factories to tour our clients for production inspection and quality assessment. So working in this company with diverse people. So my bosses were from Netherlands and Australia, and my technical teams are of Japanese and Chinese. And then our clients were also, of course, Japanese, and very typical Japanese salarymen to be honest. That gave me an opportunity to uncover and examine my biases or preconceived ideas I had that I did not know I had. And it nurtured my intercultural perspectives greatly. In addition to doing the project management, I was also given the role to be the bridge between these culturally diverse groups. So I realized myself when I'm doing the translation or interpretation or just the communication tool between the groups, I realized myself switching gears between Japanese, Chinese, Dutch, and Australian. I needed to make sure that I could send the correct message that was communicated. And I had to consider the context of the speaker's culture for me to do that. So that was a great learning experience for me. I really enjoyed working at Pharmaciliza, but the long distance relationship was taking a toll on Francis and I. Okay. So I decided to quit the job, joined him in the US. And that's how I came here. This is my family. When my babies were 4 to 6 months old. And as Placidus worked, I decided to stay home, primarily because I wanted to be with my kids to instill Placidus and my values. And I also wanted to be with my kids especially when they come back from school. That was the experience I wished I had. So I did it for my kids. So I was with them 24/7, and we did so many things together. And in my family, this is the motto: Yoku manambi, yoku asobe. Work hard, play hard. And I kind of insist on this order. We have to work first. So these are some of the fun parts we did. We made fun house. We made many of these actually. I would use a cardboard box to make a house, blank skeleton, and I let my kids decorate however they want. Puzzles, blocks, clays were our favorite. It gave us infinite opportunity of learning and playing at the same time. More fun time. And these are some of my projects I got to do in Indiana. This was in Sunrise Church in Indiana where we went to. And children's hallway, ministry hallway, wanted to do some design work. So I designed this using a recycled newspaper tube. It's a big sheet, roll of newspaper. After they used it, they had to toss it. So they gave it to us, and I used this to decorate in each color of fruit of the Spirit. And on the other side of the hallway, I made a prayer tree. So it's made of casting resin with kids' prayers embedded inside. This is to encourage kids to pray. I also worked in Japanese kids ministry in Cincinnati, Japanese church. And after Tohoku earthquake, we made these cranes, paper cranes, thousands of cranes to send prayers. And this is our house in Ohio that we built. I finally got a chance to design at least a part of a house, and that was fun. And this is my favorite verse. So fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise. And I think this goes with the word that I liked from the college year, Tomoyabu. As we meet with people will have different qualities, and nobody is perfect. But if you focus on what is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and worthy of praise, we will learn from each other. So these are my favorite quotes. And Terence is a Tunisian playwright. He wrote comedy in 170 BC, around that time. He said, I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. And Maya Angelou quoted his word and said, I pray for humility. I intend to use my energy constructively as opposed to destructively. This is what I am still learning. And that is also what I am still learning. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. Sorry for shooting that time so long. Please. Oh, do we have microphone? Somebody with a microphone.
What was the strongest earthquake that you experienced in Japan?
I actually experienced the Hanshin Daishinsai. That was the one in Kobe. It was the year of my gap year. So I was in my bedroom, and that morning I was sleeping with my youngest sister. And yeah, it was a violent shake. Even though we were quite far from the source, it really shook our house and our wall had the crack. But yeah, after that morning, we took a train to go to the area that is closer to the source. And the devastation I saw was really astounding. Like everything was collapsed to the ground.
What?
I don't remember magnitude. I don't want to say wrong. I don't know, 5 or 6. I'm not sure. But the buildings were collapsing flat.
I'm sure if you have other questions, Ayumi could stay around for a couple minutes and visit. If you weren't able to grab your lunch, we have those for you on the way out. But let's give our thankful applause to Ayumi. Come back in a couple of weeks. Linda Craighead, the Director of Facilities, will be sharing. So thank you all for coming.